The Brethren of Purity or Ikhwanus Safa is a secret group of Muslim philosophers in the Islamic Golden Age. Western scholars translate the phrase Ikhwanus Safa into English as the Brethren of Purity, the Pure Brethren, the Sincere Brethren, and the Sincere Friends, but we keep using the name in Arabic. The identity of Ikhwanus Safa is still not clear, although many scholars have tried to unravel their identity. Let's start with the name. The name Ikhwanus Safa can be known explicitly from the title of their magnum opus, Rasail Ikhwanus Safa, the Epistles of Ikhwanus Safa. The name Ikhwanus Safa is also mentioned many times explicitly in the epistles, but with the addition of various phrases. Ikhwanus Safa Khullanul Wafa, the Brethren of Purity and Friends of Loyalty. Ikhwanus Safa Khullanul Wafa wa Ahlul Adl wa Abna'ul Hamd, the Brethren of Purity and Friends of Loyalty and People of Justice and Sons of Praise. Ikhwanus Safa Khullanul Wafa wa Ahlul Adl wa Arbabul Haqa'iq wa Ashabul Ma'ani, the Brethren of Purity and Friends of Loyalty and People of Justice and Sons of Praise and Lords of the Truths and Possessors of the Meanings. The name Ikhwanus Safa, according to some scholars, is taken from a story of a dove in Kalila wa Timna. The story tells of the brethren of the animals, which according to Nathan has noble values and accords with the vision of Ikhwanus Safa in upholding noble and holy brotherhood. Actually, from the additional nomenclature they use for their name, we can reveal the mystery of their identity, such as the feature of their views and who they really were. Quote, there is a Mu'tazilite ring to the title People of Justice. The Mu'tazila like to refer to themselves as people of unity and justice. The phrase possessors of the meanings is likely reference to the doctrine of Batin inner and Zahir outward, expounded by the Ismaili sect, in which bodies of scripture like the Quran had an exoteric and an esoteric meaning, while the title Lords of the Truth could clearly have been coined by a Sufi. As a group of thinkers, the identity of each member of Ikhwanus Safa is still unclear. No one knows for sure who they were in the circle of fraternity and who wrote the magnum opus, the Epistles of Ikhwanus Safa. Quote, Ikhwanus Safa always tried to cover up their identities and names so that researchers differ in opinion about who joined and wrote their epistles. Each researcher expresses their opinion according to estimates. Some say that the epistles is part of the sayings of the imams of the descendants of Ali bin Abi Talib. Some say that the epistles was the writing of some Mu'tazilite theologians in the first period, and some say that it was the writing of Hakim al-Mujridi al-Qurtubi. Some say that it was the writing of Ja'far as-Sadiq. Many scholars have tried to uncover who they really were. Some maintain that Ikhwanus Safa was a group of Sufis, and this can be seen from their magnum opus, in which they describe themselves as divine philosophers who truly understand Sufism. Other scholars argue that Ikhwanus Safa were Mu'tazilites. Other scholars assert that Ikhwanus Safa were the thinkers of Ismailism. However, according to Nathan, we cannot hasten to conclude that they embraced Sufism, Ismailism, or Mu'tazilism completely, but the nomenclature show that they were at least influenced by each of those. And other scholars only maintain that Ikhwanus Safa were the intellectuals of Basra, Iraq. The last opinion was corroborated by Abu Hayyan al-Tawhidi, one of the eminent thinkers in the 10th century. And from Abu Hayyan's notes, we can find out who they were. From As-Sijistani, his teacher, At-Tawhidi got to know the activists of Ikhwanus Safa. Those who joined the Ikhwanus Safa, according to At-Tawhidi, included Abu Sulaiman Muhammad bin Ma'sar al-Busti or al-Maqdisi, Abu al-Hasan, Ali bin Harun az-Zanjani, Abu Ahmad al-Mihrajani or al-Nahrajuri, al-Awfi al-Basri, and Zaid bin Rifa'ah. These names are really unfamiliar to us. They are considered to have been contributors to the writing of the epistles, which consists of 52 epistles. The emergence of Ikhwanus Safa is estimated in the 9th to 10th centuries, at which time the Abbasid dynasty was disintegrating. Socio-political aspect, especially religious aspect, at that time was quite chaotic. So this was the motive of the emergence of Ikhwanus Safa, which focused on purifying the soul, improving moral and spiritual qualities, and discussing the divine matters. The masterpiece of Ikhwanus Safa, Rasail, the epistles, also becomes the subject of debate. Who wrote and how to write it are still debated. Ibn Sina is said to have been ordered by his father to study the work of Ikhwan Sofa. This means that the epistles was perfectly completed at least during Ibn Sina's era. Several scholars suggest that the epistles was the result of philosophical discussions they held every 12 days in secret. It is said that there was a secretary in charge of writing down the results of the discussion. Meanwhile, other scholars argue that the epistles was a collective work in which there were 5 important figures who were intensely involved in the preparation and writing of the work. The epistles, which consists of 52 epistles, is classified into 4 sections based on the categories of the discipline. First, mathematics, consisting of 14 epistles. Second, natural science or physics, consisting of 17 epistles. Third, rational science and psychology, consisting of 10 epistles. And fourth, the science of religion or theology, consisting of 11 epistles. Said Hossein Nasr gives a clear classification in detail. First, the primary sciences, second, religious sciences, and third, philosophical sciences. Primary sciences contain reading and writing, lexicography and grammar, accounting and business transactions, prosody and metrics, doctrines of good and evil, omens, doctrines of magic, amulets, alchemy, stratagem, business and handicraft, commerce and agriculture, stories and biographies. And religious sciences contain science of revelation, exegesis, tradition or hadith, jurisprudence and law, asceticism and Sufism, and interpretation of dreams. And philosophical sciences contain mathematics consisting of the quadrivium, logic, natural sciences, which in turn are divided into 7 parts. Principles governing bodies consisting of knowledge of height, form, time, space, and motion. The heavens consisting of the sciences of the stars, the motion of the planets, reason for the stationary character of the earth. Generation and corruption consisting of knowledge of the 4 elements, they change into each other, and the minerals, plants, and animals coming into being from them. Meteorology, consisting of the knowledge of the change of the weather due to the effects of the stars, winds, thunder, and lightning. Mineralogy, botany, zoology. And theology includes knowledge of God and His attributes, knowledge of the spiritual world, knowledge of souls. Politics, consisting of the knowledge of prophethood, kingship, the common people, the elite, and man considered in himself. It is undeniable that the epistles of Ikhwan Sofa encompasses various disciplines from music to magic. It seems that the ideas contained in the epistles are syncretic, or we can say eclectic. They were influenced by many traditions of thought. However, Hossein Nasr asserts, the source of the Ikhwan should not, however, be considered solely as historical texts. In a long passage, they themselves inform the reader of the universality of their sources, which include revelation and nature in addition to written texts. Indeed, the views of Ikhwan Sofa were influenced by many schools, both internally from the Islamic schools, as we stated earlier, and externally, such as Pythagoreanism, Plato, Aristotle, and Neoplatonism. This was actually acknowledged by them openly. We have drawn our knowledge from 4 books. The first is composed of the mathematical and natural sciences established by sages and philosophers. The second consists of the revealed books of the Torah, the Gospels, and the Quran, and the other tablets brought by the Prophet through angelic revelation. The third is the book of nature, which are the ideas in the Platonic sense of the forms of creatures actually existing, from the composition of the celestial spheres, the division of the zodiac, the movement of the stars, and so on, to the transformation of the elements, the production of the members of the mineral, plant, and animal kingdoms, and the rich variety of human industry. The fourth consists of the divine books, which touch only the purified man, and which are the angels who are in intimacy with the chosen beings, the noble and the purified souls. The ideas of Ikhwan Sofa were influenced by ancient Greek philosophy, as they just stated. Ikhwan Sofa and the Pythagorean belief that the nature of all things accords to the nature of number. In particular, Ikhwan Sofa paid special reverence to the number 4, considered to be the basis of all life in the world, such as the 4 Empedoclean elements, the 4 directions, the four seasons. Quote, the reasoning behind such veneration for this particular number is not hard to find. God created most things in groups of four, and natural matters are arranged in fours principally to correspond to or harmonize with the four spiritual principles which hang above them, consisting of the Creator, the universal intellect, the universal soul, and prime matter. According to them, one can know God's unity through things related to number. However, they reject Pythagorean view regarding reincarnation, and as Muslims, they adhere to the Islamic worldview that the purification of the soul in this world can lead one to the heavenly happiness in the hereafter. In this case, they affirm Plato's view that the body can be an obstacle to the perfection of the soul. However, again, they reject Plato's view, rejecting the significance of senses. For Ikhwan Safa, senses become foundation before the intellect and finally logical deduction. Without senses, according to them, a person is blind, which means knowing nothing. Regarding the influence of Aristotle and Plotinus on Ikhwan Safa, Nathan states, they used the doctrines of Aristotle and Plotinus and shaped them in accordance with their own beliefs, not always producing a hybrid which either Aristotle or Plotinus would have been recognized. Plotinus' influence on them can be quoted from their statements. How the virtues and the generosity which were in God emanated from him by the necessity of wisdom in the same fashion that light and brightness emanated from the sun. The first product of this emanation is called the active intellect, al-aqlul fa'al, from which emanated the passive intellect, al-aqlul munfa'il, or the universal soul. From the latter emanated the prime matter. Even though borrowing the view of Neoplatonism, they elaborated on it to be a complex hierarchy of being, which we will discuss specifically another time. I'll see you next time.